Hello, and welcome to a webinar about training the Roma, as well as training the Roma partners. We'll take a look at 5 basic questions, which are why to train Roma and their partners, what exactly to train, how to do it, where this training should take place in order to have the best results, and the same goes to when to train in order to have the best effect. Let's take a look at why first. Why to train Roma? Well, the final aim is to improve the life chances of deprived Roma children with the help of formal and informal forms of education and, of course, with the support of their families. This will help them integrate more easily into the local community and society in general. But in order to do that, we first need to improve their education, skills, employment, and health. And on the other hand, we also need to increase their awareness of inclusion, equality, democracy, and human rights. And why to train Roma partners? Well, first let's clear who Roma partners are. They are all those who Roma come in contact with while trying to integrate. These are professional staff of employment agencies, employers, local municipal and national administrative staff, teachers and other educational staff, NGOs, social workers, citizens, etc. Why do we need to train them? Well, we need to make them more sensitive to unconscious discrimination of all kinds. We need to get them more sensitive about different cultures, life circumstances, marginalized position of vulnerable groups, etc. It is crucial to officially recognize anti-Gypsyism. You can find more about such topics on the webpage of Justice Program of European Commission. Furthermore, we train Roma partners to make them more aware of the fact that society benefits from multiculturalism. And most important, we need to inform them that officials are employed to solve the problems, not to make another problem in the daily life of vulnerable groups. Now let's move on to what to train each group. What to train Roma? Training for Roma must involve different fields of everyday life, like housing, education, health, employment, social and human rights. And what about the Roma partners? We need to know that most of prejudice stems from a lack of knowledge about different cultures, attitudes, traditions, language and history. Therefore, we need to tackle the topics that can make Roma partners more sensitive of unconscious discrimination of all kinds, like hate speech, inappropriate jokes, etc. We need to get them more sensitive about different cultures, different life circumstances, marginalized position of vulnerable groups, etc. Regarding this, you can help yourself with the Manifesto for Teachers for the 21st Century, which was prepared at the Conference on the Professional Image and Ethos of Teachers in 2014 in Strasbourg. And you can also use the Council of Europe's workshops and seminars, like teacher training on Roma history and culture, training of Roma school mediators/assistants on the relationship between families and schools, access to quality education, preschool education, and vocational training. A number of workshops have been held in the framework of the Council of Europe Pestalozzi training program, and you can find it on the link below. Perhaps the most crucial question is how to train Roma. Well, the first and the most important rule is that Roma will not benefit from any training if they are not involved in the preparation of it. We must respect their needs and their interests. So if we want our training to be successful, we must follow basic principles, which are mutual trust, understanding and tolerance in the local community, acceptance and inclusion, and most of all, we need to provide emotional safety, relaxation and playful atmosphere And we also need to assure focused attention on each individual child. We need to create a homely atmosphere. Let's not also forget how important games can be in the process of learning. We can also train Roma children and youth together with their peers in formal organizations like kindergartens, primary and secondary schools. It is not irrelevant where trainings take place. Before we start with the action, we need to ask ourselves at least 5 questions. First of all, how to choose the place for training? Public places or Roma settlements? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each option? And do we have any examples of best practice already? What do you think? How important is the trust in a multicultural environment? Whose responsibility is the isolation and invisibility of the Roma population? And do you think it is possible to train Roma and Roma project partners together? Well, in addition to the first questions, when organizing training, we have just 2 choices, public places or Roma settlements. We have to know that at the beginning of the integration and inclusion process, Roma community is very suspicious. Therefore, safer position for them is in the settlement. So in some cases, it is necessary to start with the education in the settlements, like kindergartens. But we must not forget that the final aim is to integrate Roma into society, so in mainstream educational institutions, mainstream jobs, mainstream housing. Therefore, Roma inclusion policies must overcome partially or entirely segregated education or housing where it still exists. Too often we also forget about the internet, which can also be a very useful place for education. You can find many useful exercises, as for example, you can test yourself on intercultural competences online, here on this link. And in addition to the 4th question, our opinion is that it is not possible to train Roma partners and Roma together because Roma partners in the project are experts and are highly educated professionals. They usually just need to raise awareness about prejudice, discrimination in communication and attitude. They need to raise awareness about differences in culture and attitudes, and they need to inform themselves about the reasons of improper reactions. You can find some useful material on this topic on the page of Justice Program of the European Commission. When is the proper time to train? Our opinion is that the sooner the education starts, the better results we get. Especially Roma children have less difficulty in school if they are involved in bilingual experience in the kindergarten or preschool education. Early childhood education diminishes the risk of social emotional health problems and increases children's self-sufficiency later on. The role of preschool education is to strengthen the child's psychosocial development. But before you make a plan, you also think about these questions. Which are common basic principles on Roma inclusion accepted by the Council of European Union? What is the current situation in education of Roma? Which circumstances in your country must be respected when you plan to train Roma? Which Roma organization in your country will represent Roma preferences and interests about training content? And do you know any good examples of trainings? We chose 2 examples of best practice on how to train Roma in terms of activities and exercises. The first one is Day Center for Roma Children in the largest Roma settlement in Novo Mesto, Slovenia. It is called Brezje. Day Center started as a project in 2010, but today it is a program of the Association for Developing Voluntary Work Novo Mesto. Day Center is open every day, Monday to Friday, from 11:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the aim of this program is to set up a daily contact between children and the employees, as well as to organize different activities for improving the level of their human, social and cultural capital. We provide conditions for those children in which they can develop positive social contacts. Over 100 children regularly attend this program, and they are involved in different activities such as social games, creative workshops, dancing and music workshops with an emphasis on Roma culture, of course, social and sports games, relaxation workshops. They also get assistance with homework and studying, and most important, they get assistance with language, the Slovene language. The aim of this program is greater integration into the school system and into society in general. The second example is similar day center for Roma children, but in the second largest settlement in Novo Mesto, where a program is a bit different. It consists of 3 interrelated activities. The first one is inclusion of preschool children. The second one is integration of primary school children. And the third one, integration of parents. Inclusion of preschool children. Children in this settlement do not attend the kindergarten. Therefore, we established a program for children between 3 and 6 years of age. A program takes place every day, Monday to Friday, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and it is based on the national curriculum for kindergartens with an emphasis on physical activities, language, society, nature, and mathematics. Integration of primary school children is a bit different. The first part of the program, from 1 till 2 p.m., is devoted to assistance with studying and homework, as well as learning the Slovene language. The second part of the program, from 2 till 3 p.m., is devoted to spending quality free time of children, which means creative workshops, social workshops, sports and social games, music and dance activities, as well as other supportive activities. And the third one, integration of parents, is the toughest one. Experience so far shows that group activities are not the best option. Therefore, primary individual work with parents was organized. Parents, especially mothers, were visited at their homes once or twice a week, not just to build the trust, but also to inform, consult, and enlighten. You can find more examples from different countries on these links. The first one is Tanoda in Hungary. You can read the social case study about Tanoda. The second one is from Macedonia, the former Yugoslav Republic. It is Roma Youth Center, which is a non-governmental, non-profit Roma youth voluntary organization led by educated Roma youth. They want to solve the problems around Roma and respond to their needs. They think non-formal education is next most important and necessary thing for Roma youth right after the formal education. And Roma Youth Center is engaged in the field of youth mobility, youth policy, and youth participation. The third one is the Slovak case. Rocepo is an integral part of the Methodological Pedagogical Center in Prešov. It was established in December 2001 and it covers the entire territory of the Slovak Republic. If you take some time to browse, you'll find a lot of good practices listed by countries on these links you can see here. If you're interested in establishing preschool centers, the manual will come handy. You can find curriculum, methodology, exercises for children, educational corners, evaluation process, templates and documents, etc. When it comes to training, the most important thing is to have good exercises. Not everything you find on the internet is good. Therefore, we collected some useful and credible links which offer plenty of exercises. My personally favorite is Compass, for example, which is a manual on human rights education with young people. Compass provides 49 practical activities and ideas useful for youth leaders, teachers, and facilitators on human rights education, regardless of what they are, professionals or volunteers. Compass follows the idea that human rights cannot be defended by legal measures alone. They need to be protected and safeguarded by everyone. Human rights are best respected and appreciated when we know them, stand up for them, and apply them in our lives. The second one is Companion, which is a campaign guide about education and learning for change in diversity, human rights, and participation. And the third one is Compasito, a manual on human rights education for children, which includes new activities and information about human rights issues such as disability, migration, religion, remembrance, war, and terrorism. And you can find more training ideas on the pages of Council of Europe. We have come to the end of this webinar. We would appreciate if you gave us some feedback on the content in terms of, do you find this topic useful, and can you give us suggestions for better work? Thank you very much for your attention, and we wish you a successful work.